We are in a position where our moral high ground with respect to refugees is quickly crumbling beneath our feet. And I think that means we need to start thinking about an entirely different way of behaving. So last year we had 43,000 people crossing the Channel, and there's likely to be more this year. That's despite Suella Braverman's posturing and banging the dispatch box and issuing racist threats to an entire country. There is more opposition likely to be raised, likely to be in evidence if we take the Liverpool situation outside the ASylum hotel. The more hotels are used to house people who are waiting for the Home Office to get off its backside and actually do something, the more we're going to have problems. And this will prompt people to look for different solutions. It will probably prompt even more people using illegal routes to get to this country, rather than less. And it's certainly prompting the Prime Minister to think of different solutions. We're told that increasingly people will be talking about illegal asylum seekers. We know this. I mean, we only have to look at that situation in Liverpool, where people were people on my website, on my YouTube, said that the objection in Liverpool was not about legal asylum seekers, people from, let's say, Afghanistan, but illegal asylum seekers. Well, this distinction is spurious and impossible either to define or to police. The Rwanda project is rhetoric for the far right. Now, Sunak aims to bring the UK, he says, according to the Financial Times, to the boundaries of international law, to test the cliff edge of the legal position, and pull out, if necessary, of the European Convention of Human Rights, to disapply the 1988, is it 1988? 1998 UK Human Rights Act, to make sure that he anticipates any likely grounds of litigation, to pull out of Strasbourg should it cause too much objection. Of course, all this is nonsensical. It's all posturing in the final days of a Conservative government. No matter what the rhetoric, nothing is going to happen. Even with the agreement with Kigali, the Rwanda plan is sunk. The plan which Sunak is now putting forward to be very tough, to test international law, this doesn't look any cleverer than the plan to break the business model. That was the plan, to break the business model of the smugglers by touting the Rwanda threat. That failed, and Rwanda Mark II is just window dressing and equally flimsy. Talk about third countries when when Mr. Sunak or Suella Braverman talks about Rwanda, to tie in Albania, to mention that in the same sentence is ridiculous. The Albanian option is about working with the Albanian authorities, something that Edi Rama, the Albanian Prime Minister, has been encouraging from the very beginning, and not for the British to work with Albanian police on British soil, but to put British authorities in Albania, in Tirana, and to work from the north to nip the problem in the bud and to provide a dedicated route for those people who are serious about asylum or serious about getting visas to come and work here. Sunak says if you come here illegally, you cannot stay. But we know that is absolutely untrue, as, for example, Suella Braverman testified on the 23rd of November in a committee hearing for the Home Office when she was asked about by a fellow Conservative MP, Tim Loughton. And Tim Loughton said if he was an African, a young African boy trying to escape abuse in Africa, how would he get to the UK? And Suella Braverman herself admitted that the only way was to cross the channel in a boat and to seek asylum once he got to our shores. So Suella Braverman defies the Prime Minister. Suella Braverman indeed defies herself when she says this is the only way. So until she starts making more routes available, the dinghies across the channel are the only way that the majority of people can actually come to this country. And even when people come on acknowledged, quote, legal routes, they're still stuck in hotels. They're still stuck in limbo, as we saw yesterday with the story about the Afghan PhD candidate whose own commitment to this country, whose own studies in this country are being thwarted by the stupidity and tardiness and lack of foresight of the Home Office, and they're blaming him. No. The Rwanda option cost £120 million. That's what that's a sum that we've been told. It may have cost even more. Certainly it cost more because of the aborted plane trips and all these other things. Enver Solomon, the head of the Refugee Council, says that all these plans face practical problems. And there's three major problems, of course. One, there's no agreement that was reached when Britain went into Brexit. No agreement was reached for refugees to be returned to anywhere except for Albania. There was no attempt to mirror the Dublin Protocol. This was an absurd and completely stupid lack of foresight. And our present government has suffered greatly because of this stupidity. This was stupidity. Number two, the Rwanda deal will fail on a variety of grounds, but mostly because it's just window dressing. It's just words, a lot of hot air, and a lot of money. It's an expensive PR exercise that cannot be implemented. It's simply going to tie up the courts. And number three, the backlog of the Home Office, which is something that was set up by Theresa May with her hostile environment. It's now led to demonstrably inhumane conditions, to public resentment, to astronomical expense, and the new plans would increase that astronomical expense significantly. It would be better by far, to let refugees settle temporarily and to work. It would be better by far to set up reception centres in Calais. And as in the Netherlands, setting opportunities for refugees to work while their asylum applications are processed. This allows people whose asylum application may not be terribly secure to make a case about their own value to our economy, their own commitment to our way of life. It may not be a secure way to seek asylum, but it must be a significantly better one than waiting around in hotels and beginning to resent our country and the way we treat people who have appealed to our good nature for help. I don't see very much good nature in being put in a hotel and seeing people with placards telling you that you are an illegal migrant. This distinction between legal and illegal migrants is spurious, wrong, and immoral. Immoral. And we will pay the price for that immorality, I'm afraid. Suella Braverman is stirring a hornet's nest.